And we're going to learn how to create ragdoll dynamics, which is another facet of the physics system inside of Motion Builder. So ragdolls have been around for a while, and they're finally in Motion Builder, and they're essentially a way of animating complete characters with the help of rigid bodies. Basically what happens is the character is broken down or approximated into smaller rigid bodies. And these rigid bodies are all connected and hooked up to one another, so once your simulation begins, you'll end up animating the whole character in a variety of motions that are physically based, such as the character falling off a building or landing on an object, or even being dragged by other surfaces as well. It's kind of a neat way of animating your character's physical motions quickly and easily, so let's see how we can get this going. To get your ragdolls to work, you're going to need a character that has been already characterized and, more importantly, has a control rig attached to it. So let's go ahead and grab one that's already available to us. We can go to the tutorials folder, and there's an ragdoll character over here that we can use. So let's take him, drag and drop him over onto the viewport so we can open him up. And it'll take a minute or two, but he'll pop up eventually. And now we can go ahead and basically apply the ragdoll to the character here. Now if you don't see what I have here, make sure your display mode is set to X-ray. Once you have that there, you can apply the ragdoll by simply dragging and dropping the physical property asset for it over onto any part of the control rig. I usually prefer to drop it on the hips. Any part will really work. So just go ahead and drop it on the control rig. And there we go. If you scroll down and pull up the physical properties folder, you'll see the ragdoll asset in here, and some new tabs will pop up for setup, solve, and animation. Each one has a specific function related to the ragdoll. Now your ragdoll will not function, or nothing will really happen to it, until you create the approximation of the different body parts for your character. So if you want to do that, go to the setup tab, go to approximation, and click on the create button. These little blue rigid bodies will pop up, and these represent the different parts of your character that are going to be recognized as the rigid bodies for collision purposes. Once your approximation is ready, all you have to do is go to the solvers and drop in a physics solver so you can get this to be calculated. Once you have your physics solver in place, you can turn it on and then turn on live, and your ragdoll will kick into motion. If you want to hide your character or the ragdoll approximation pieces, you can just go back to the display section and ask it to view models only. Keep in mind you can always use the shortcuts Control A to toggle between these modes. And now we're in a model only mode, and our ragdoll is still being simulated like so. We can reset to start to kick it back up, and there we go. Our character is procedurally animated with rigid bodies. Not a single piece of keyframe animation has been utilized. Keep in mind that your start state defines how your ragdoll will work, just as with the rigid bodies. So we can turn off live and reset to start, and turn it off, or turn the solver into a non-online mode, or basically turn it offline. And then with that, we can take our character and change his pose so the ragdoll can start in at a different position. So for example, you can grab the hips of the character and maybe lower him, and then go back to online and turn it on, turn on live, and the ragdoll motion is different. You can also basically take your character and suspend him off the ground. You may need to turn off effector pinning if that's turned on your character's feet. So let's go there and turn off the translate and rotate pinning for both of these. And now we can take the hips, pull it up. We can even rotate it. So I'll tap R and rotate the character. You can take the body parts and change them to whatever pose you want. So now we can do our character falling headfirst into the ground. And once we're satisfied with the pose that we have, just turn online on, turn on live, and the character falls down. So ragdolls are pretty cool, and you can have a lot of fun with them if you just start posing them and letting it rip, basically. Now keep in mind you can also use the selection adds a force feature with your ragdolls. You can turn it on, and then you can simply click the ragdoll approximations if you want to push your character in different directions. To do this, you need to make sure you have your approximations visible. So you can go to display and turn on X-ray mode, for example, and now you can click on the character to push it along. Now ragdolls are a little bit heavier than some of the default properties, so if you really want this guy to fly, you may need to go in here and increase the force on the character. So as opposed to using 150, you can use 1000, so that way you can actually get this character to really fly over the place. You can also select multiple pieces, and upon deselection you'll send your character off in space. Let me go ahead and turn off live, reset to start to bring him back. Kind of like so. And you can click to Basically pull your character and toss him around in multiple directions. Kind of like that. Once you're satisfied with the result that you have, or you want to record it, the same rules apply. All you have to do is make sure recording is turned on, and then click on the record button. Create a new take or overwrite the current one. The choice is up to you. All you have to do is hit play to start the simulation, and we reset to start first, or turn off live and then reset to start, and then hit play to store those in. We can start to toss them around. All of these will be recorded as well. And once we're satisfied, stop, rewind, and there's our animation. So there you go. Same rules apply. The same rules applicable to rigid bodies apply to ragdolls as well. So just keep that in mind while you're working with the system. And here's what we have right now. If I turn on models only, our character falls down, hits the ground, and it's tossed about by the forces that we apply onto the rigid body approximations.